Hi, welcome to the Do It My Way podcast show. Today I have a special guest with me, my friend Carissa Miller of CC and Mike. So, hi Carissa.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so everybody just wants to know, how did CC and Mike start?
Oh my gosh, well, you were a big part of that.
Yeah.
So I guess it was 2016, and I'd been a professional photographer for 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yep.
And just started feeling this shift, I think, in my life where I realized, you know what, in 5-10 years, I don't see myself doing this. I was basically a stay-at-home mom who did photography on the side.
Yeah.
And so a lot of weekends, and my kids were starting to get older, and I remember those first few times that, when you're photographing a wedding, you plan that a year and a half out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, I signed a contract for June 2017, but now my son's in a, baseball tournament in Kansas and the other one's in Texas. And I just started feeling this shift in my life and in my career and really in just what I wanted, and didn't see myself doing photography.
Yeah.
At 40, I was, 30 at the time, so I didn't see myself doing that anymore. So that's when I kind of had this idea of, well, maybe I'll start blogging.
Yeah.
I felt kind of stupid about it. Like, that. I had no plan. I am creative and I take photos, and I thought, what if I started, my sister had taken this really cool photo of a Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
And I thought that should be in people's houses.
Yeah.
Like, that should be framed and should be in people's houses. Then I got this idea to start a print shop.
Yeah.
And that's when I came to you and I was like, I have this crazy idea.
Yeah.
And I had no idea where it was going to start. So the idea was kind of rebrand my website, because it was CC Miller Photography, and take photography out and just call it CC and Mike, which you kind of helped me. No plan. It was just like CC.
No, I love.
I felt kind of stupid about it.
And I love that, though. I think that's what, this whole time you've been so authentic and just like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
I don't have a pathway. I'm just doing what I love.
Yes.
Putting it out there. If it takes off, it takes off. You're not trying to be something you're not. And I think that's why you've seen so much success. So, okay, so tell me about CC and Mike. What all do you guys do now?
So we do several things. Our main thing is design, build, and construction, which was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
But we had always designed and built our own houses.
Yeah.
I just hadn't shared that with the world. But when we rebranded to CC and Mike, it wasn't just CC Miller Photography. I shared a photo. I realized really quickly that the photos that I wanted to sell, the prints for the print shop, weren't like, so I post a photo of like a vignette of the print, and people would be like, but where's that chair from? But and I was like, oh. So then one day I posted like a whole room photo, and it just took off of our master bedroom, and it was One Kings Lane asked it to repost me and what was my design advice, and I was like, what is happening? I was trying to sell prints. But I think that's also a cool story of people realizing you just start, and you're actually the one who told me that. You just kind of I think you said you just throw all these balls up in the air and you see which one sticks. And design and construction, interestingly enough, was what happened. And so people really quickly started asking us to work with them, and we did a couple remodels in 2017, and it just kept growing and growing. And now I find myself, we're going to do a home for a really amazing couple, and he's an NFL football player, and
how fun!
And I've worked with Reed Drummond, and it's just crazy to me if you would have told me where this was going to go. But so design, build, construction is a huge part. And then the second part is I guess people would consider me an influencer or creator. Our Instagram account kind of grew at a rate that we never could have guessed. And I do now also get paid for being an influencer, so to speak.
Exactly. So you are going on basically affiliate marketing, and brands are paying you to push their stuff out.
Brands pay us, and then we also, as I share things, so it really works well with my design business model, because if I'm already sharing, here's this accessory I used, or I love this, oh my gosh, Studio McGee's new olive tree, I'm putting it in all my projects. Well, I link that up because I love sharing it with our followers. And I do also make a commission.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business.
Yes, it's a business.
There's influencers that can make $1 million, just doing affiliate.
Yeah, well, and it's the new form of marketing.
Yeah.
Like, brands are gonna have to accept it, even if you haven't accepted it. If you're a business owner, influencer marketing is, in my opinion, one of the top ways to influence. You know, it is a form of sales and marketing, but you know, we develop relationships with these people and they trust us. So if I say the Studio McGee's Target olive tree is the best tree, I'm saying that, and they trust me.
Right.
And so it's the new way of the world, and it's the new way to market.
Well, it is. I mean, it's word of mouth marketing in 2021, because you've got, you know, you always want to ask your best friend, does this look okay? Do you like this lipstick color? Is my hair okay? It's like your best friend, and I think that your audience feels like you're their best friend.
Yes.
I mean, you give them a peek, you know, sneak peek into your life, into what your kids are doing, into what's going on,
and we feel the same. I will say that, like, we develop relationships. It's crazy to me, the relationships, the friendships I've developed. You know, and we feel the same way.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think one thing about you, because I follow, you know, a lot of people, and maybe it's like someone in fitness or, you know, and they've just perfect body and always just look so great. And you like them and you kind of admire, but you're like, I don't know if I want to hang out with that girl.
Yeah.
You have that like authentic where you're just very real. It's just Carissa is Carissa. You've always been the same Carissa I met. You're back in, gosh, whenever we moved in the same neighborhood years ago. But you've always just kind of been like, this is me, you know, like it or not, this is who I am. And, you know, some of your posts, like some of my favorite ones, you'll have this beautifully designed room, you know, your master bedroom or whatever. And then you'll have just like 2 to 3 weeks of laundry that's just piled up, and you're like, this is real life. Like, yes, I have all this beautiful design, but guess what? I have 3 kids and they play sports and we're crazy busy. And
if the room looks good, I can promise you there's 2 weeks of laundry, because that's why it looks good, because I didn't do the laundry.
Exactly. That's so true. So talk a little bit about that, like being authentic, because I think, you know, I get called all the time just being DG branding, people saying, how do I become an influencer? Like, I want to become an influencer. So how do you become an influencer? Like, just kind of like talk through that process.
Sure. I mean, there's 2 things. First of all, I would say for my journey, I never set out to be an influencer. So I think my advice would be do what you love and do it authentically, and it will follow in a sense. But there's also, I say that, that's how my journey happened.
Right.
But I also do think that there's boxes you have to check. Right. So for me, my background in photography really rolled over into this career, because when Instagram started, I'm capable of taking very beautiful photos. And you know, we're a visual world, let's be honest. My photos,
Instagram's all about photos,
right? So my photos are what helped you know, catapult my influence. But at the same time, I didn't set out to be an influencer, but I realize now, I mean, there are some colleges like entrepreneurship influencers, so you can set out to do that. But I guess my advice would be don't ever set out to do it if you don't have a firm foundation of who you are and what you were created to do and what you're good at and what you are wanting to do. Right. Because, you know, how are you going to influence people if you don't personally even know where you're going or what you're doing? For me, my background in photography, and then I knew I wanted to do the print shop, and so I, you know, it just happened genuinely, is what I'm saying.
So, which is why you've been successful. And I think in marketing we call it personal branding, so versus a company. So you can tell when a company's trying to, you know, put their blog out there and trying to do all this, but it just doesn't feel, because it's a company, it's corporate, it feels very stiff, where an individual being themselves.
Just be yourself.
Right.
And that was, mine started out, I started an Instagram account to sell my prints.
Yeah.
And exactly what you're happening. It was a personal brand, and I just started sharing my personal life, and it just took off. Yeah. You know, versus really when I was just sharing the prints. Yeah. That isn't what was taking off as much when I was just trying to, you know, show and like sell my prints. And some people do. You know, some people have great success with that, because I think they know, like, you know, I know people who do art or whatever, and they set out with that intention. Yeah. But with me, it was kind of, you know, it was like blog and recipes and this and that. And so, you know, that was my route that it took. And I don't know. I just think if somebody is setting out to be an influencer, really spending some time being like, how am I going to do this? Am I being authentic? Am I being genuine?
Yes.
And
I think you also just being smart, looking at the statistics, like what is taking off. I mean, you were saying earlier that, some of your best posts are actually something personal. It has nothing to do with design.
Absolutely.
That you're pushing out there. So give an example of something.
Well, that's the funny thing is because when I started, first of all, Instagram has evolved so much. Yeah. It's always evolving. But it was all still photos and beautiful photos. Yeah. And I had just moved into my house and designed my master bedroom. And that was the first post that went crazy. Now, 5 years later, as I've, again, genuine, I've sold my home, I've sold my dream home, the home that we built that started this whole journey, but then we felt prompted to actually sell that and go in a different route. Yeah. And I've been very transparent about that, and I've been very open and honest about that, and that has been the bit, right now, if you were to look at it, I truly post what is on my heart and what I'm feeling. And sometimes I'm like, we just did this remodel and I love this, show this. But then there's times where I truly feel like I want to share with you guys what's going on here. Yeah. And those are the ones that you can tell that people that are just really resonating with.
Yes. And that's absolutely the realness of it. So, okay, I remember, what was it, 5 years ago, and you started your Instagram, and now you have over 90,000 followers. So what's your advice to someone that's trying to get a following, right? Being authentic, but what else is a strategy?
It's not going to happen if you don't develop relationships in the industry anymore, period. And that might not be what people want to hear, but my relationships that I made that are my true friendships, I mean, we support one another. We do, with other influencers. Yeah. So that wasn't the case but it is now. Yeah. When I first started, so if somebody comes and they're like, I want to be an influencer, the number one thing I would say is, you're going to have to grind and you're going to have to make true, genuine friendships with people who like the same things as you. Right. And get together and say, hey, how can we support one another? What can we do? For me, the pictures at that point got me there, me, they kind of took off and did their own thing. But very quickly, Instagram has changed significantly. And now, the women that you see catapulting to 500,000, 100,000, if you look at it, they are constantly... It's a job. They are constantly connecting with other women. We work together. We are friends. Yeah. You will see, my friends, The Spoiled Home, probably one of the biggest counts. And I can't tell you how many times we talk that you guys have no idea. My sons have hunted on their land. We are truly friends. It's not just about what can you do for me? We are friends. Right. But because of that friendship, there are times when, we do things together or do a giveaway or do a, collaboration together. Yeah. I just went down there and spent the day with them and I designed Shayla's kitchen. Yeah. Well, I'm just giving it flat out how many thousands of followers, because they trust them. Right. And then we are friends. Yes. Now,
the association.
It's networking. Yeah. And so it's really hard to grow right now without relationships.
And you met them
in
online.
The industry. You didn't know, right? When we started doing this together.
Just online.
Yeah.
Right.
Liking each other's. Right. It takes a ton of engagement and truly we are friends who we do the same thing and I support your work and you support mine and it's genuine and we get to know each other and so it's just the truth, and I don't think people want to hear it sometimes that it's going to be really hard to grow if that is your goal without genuinely developing relationships with other women in the industry or, other companies or whatever.
And so really, the reality is either you spend thousands to not hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising, driving traffic to your stuff. That's one way, right? But the influencer starting out doesn't have that, right? You're not making any money yet, so you're making relationships.
You're making relationships, and you start where you start with people who are doing the same thing. So for me, we started around the same time, and at that time we did little groups, and we would just get to know each other and look at all each other's posts and support one another, and that's that. I just organically grew within that, with like-minded women, and then I will be honest, as my career has taken such a heavy design route, I have to give most of myself to my clients. Yeah. So I don't do that anymore. Yeah. But my relationships stand within that. Right. And outside of that.
And so you don't have to as much.
I don't anymore because if I want to talk to them, I have their phone numbers and I text them or call them. Our relationship is now outside of that. But when it started as women who were like, I like the design work you're doing, and I like the design work you're doing, and let's be friends and support one another.
And
we grew
cool
together.
Is that?
We grew together.
I mean, women helping other women, and I think, we've had a little close network in our neighborhood, and everyone's helping each other's kids out, and whatever we needed, our kids were
a tribe.
Yeah, it was a tribe that really helped each other. So that in business, why can that not translate to business?
You have to have a tribe, and so that's what I'd say to any person, any business or whatever. If you're a business and you're going to hire someone to run your Instagram, they need to create a tribe. I mean, you need to find another business that does the same thing as you, or another. I mean, otherwise, if you're just posting a photo and putting it out into no man's world, and you're not actually making relationships, I think people think it's a magic button, and it's not. All of us worked really hard, and if you see a woman with 500,000 or 1 million followers, she's worked, or a man, whoever it is, they have worked their rear ends off to get there.
And I see you'll get all these comments, and you're answering every one of them.
Yes, I try, and I was very diligent.
But that's a huge part of it, because you're like, oh wait, she's talking to me. And that's where you feel like you feel like my friend. Mm-hmm. I feel like, okay, we're friends. I talk to Cece all the time on her, on Instagram. Now she posts this cute outfit. I want that outfit.
Yeah.
I want to buy, her stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's trust.
It is. That's a really cool part of it. And I think it is a business, and it is a grind.
Yes.
It can be,
It is, and people don't know that, Deidre, because I think you just see it. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you saying that, because I do think people need to realize, and I don't ever want anyone to just be like, I'm going to be an influencer, and not be like, okay, no matter what your career is, your success is going to be proportionate to what you pour into it. Right. So don't think that this is just a magic button.
Yes.
You're going to have to grind, you're going to have to make relationships, you're going to have to network, you're going to have to. And if you do that, it's a really great career with a lot of fun and benefits, I just do think, as an up and coming new career in the last however many years, I mean, I've heard, we just went on college visits with my oldest son, and I saw, entrepreneurship and some influencer classes being put into curriculums, and so I think it's kind of this new phenomenon of like, wait, there's this entire new career. Right. And then, young people being like, well, I want to do that. But it's like, well, yeah, I mean, but if you want to be successful, don't think it's like a magic button, like,
I'm an influencer. Right, exactly.
You're going to have to work.
I love that. I think, one of the things that people ask about all the time, mostly when people come to me, as an entrepreneur, they want to start a business, or maybe they want to be an influencer, it's because time freedom. They want to have the time freedom. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your schedule and like the things that you get to do, because you work with a laptop, right? You can be anywhere in the world.
Right. So I'm going to talk about time freedom as if I was just doing influence. You know what I mean? Because absolutely huge perk. Like work from ever, so we have an RV, this, we've redid the RV. It's a huge part. We travel quite frequently now. And honestly, within our influence, we get to go to Florida multiple times a year to our favorite place, 30A. I mean, if I didn't have our full design build construction, we could truly work from wherever. I'm telling you, our kids, we had kids young. In the next 5 years, we're going to be empty nesters, and we're still going to be in our 40. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We could literally have, when you talk about time freedom, we could work from anywhere.
Yeah, I love that.
We could go for 2 years. We could live in Europe.
Yeah.
We do have a design build firm that we have to be, obviously, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but I have a design team. Yeah. So that kind of keeps us a little more, if we have a project going, we have to be there. But within the influencer creator thing, time freedom is a huge benefit. Yes. And if we didn't have our design, build, and construction, I mean, truly, we could work from anywhere.
And I think it's time freedom, so work from wherever. And it's also financial freedom.
Yeah.
If you want to make more money, you could spend more time on your affiliate links and say, you know what, I'm going to concentrate and double my income this year just through affiliate marketing.
For sure.
And which is amazing.
You can, and I will tell you, because because we have this, and my clients are always going to get the first part of, you know what I mean? So there are things that my friends who do influence, full time. Yeah. That's their number one. That you can pursue things more. So you can go out to brands and you can say, it's called a media kit. You say, here's my numbers. for me, we reach 7 million people a month. We do this, and then you can go out and procure those and kind of initiate those.
Yeah.
And I personally, just to be honest, don't do that. I, let brands come to me.
Right.
And if it's a fit within my design business, so a lot of brands I work with, it's like we have this new, a brand I'm working with right now, we have a new washable rug line coming out. Sure. I'd love to work with you.
Right.
We're about to photograph a remodel.
Yeah.
I'll put your rug down and show people what it looks like.
Right.
If I like it, you know, if it's a good product.
Right.
So I always want, our followers to trust us and know that I'm truly recommending products that. So that fits into this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so your one business is kind of feeding the other business.
Exactly.
Which is brilliant,
but
right?
Time freedom, exactly. If you were doing influence, only, you could do it at whatever level. So if you're a mom and you're like, I have little babies and I want to do it during nap time or this and that, and I'm okay with making this much, and it's a side income, then you do that. But if you're like, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to go, you kind of set the pace of what you make.
So how important do you think it is to have kind of different buckets of money? Because you said, what if you just did influence?
Yeah.
Right? You're just influencer. Well, what if Facebook and Instagram shuts down? There you go.
It's important to me, and we have chosen to set up our lives like that. Just because we don't know where that is going. And so obviously my husband has been able to join me full time because we do influence and design build. But for us, we are setting up our business to where if this were to go away, we still have the construction firm, the design firm.
Yeah. I mean, how does that feel to like when you had that idea going, is anyone going to read my blog if I put stuff out there? Like, I don't even know. And now your husband has joined you full time. Like that's just amazing. And talk about being able to take off and do the things you want to do. You're doing the same business. He's not asking his boss or figuring out, his work schedule if he can get off. You guys, that's a great part of it. And I think your kids watching it is really cool. So let me know, because I know your kids are hilarious. They have like the best personalities and they're always featured on your stuff. If I ask the kids, what do they say? What do they think of Cece and Mike?
Well, they all love the perks. I mean, Emmy just thinks it is like the coolest thing ever that I've met. Ree Drummond, and
you did work for Ree.
Yes,
you didn't just meet Ree.
Yes, and so Ree is so sweet and is everything. You talk about genuine. Yeah. She wrote the book on everything that we're talking about, just being yourself and putting authenticity out there and using your creative gifts and just doing amazing things with that. But she just launched her new book and sent it her book signed, and so Emmy that's huge for Emmy. Emmy's very involved. Easton, my oldest, I think he thinks there are aspects that he enjoys, but he's kind of he's too cool. He acts a little indifferent about it. You know what I mean? But he's not going to argue if we get to go on a trip or something. That's for sure. Exactly. And Cohen, I think he enjoys it. I always try to, as Easton's gotten older specifically, I always ask their permission. I'm like, do you care if I, what I mean? And it's kind of been a part of our life. Well, ever since Instagram stories happened, I think that was 3 years ago. Yeah. That's when really everything changed. Because before that, they might have been in a picture. Yeah. But in Instagram stories, that was a really huge change. And I kind of fought it at first. Yeah. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm not doing it. Yeah. And then embraced it. And that's been a huge part of our, because for us, if you look into the analytics of it, our story views are very high, even in proportion to our followers. And that's, it's kind of just like a part of our day if it fits. And then there's days where if it's not organic and we're tired or somebody's not feeling good or we're just not feeling it,
don't force it.
And I would say this because it's important for me to share. I mean, this is a part of your career. So you have to take care of yourself mentally and emotionally first. So there are multiple times a year I get off for weeks. Yeah. And it costs me... It costs us a lot of money, but there's no trade-off for that because it's important to me to model to my children and other people as well. Yes. You need to take a break from this. Yep. There's a very real aspect of this that is unhealthy. Yeah. And you have to control it, not let it control you. Yeah. And so I model that. I mean, I always, in certain times of year, there's multiple times where I can just feel it and I'm like, and take a time out.
Yeah.
And just completely delete all apps from my phone and take a break.
Good for you. So, that's awesome. And I think, it is 24/7.
Yes.
Right? I mean, people.
It can be. It can control you if you don't control it.
Yeah. And you go to the store, you're going around town, people know you, they recognize you. So it's like you kind of always have the, eyeballs on you, people watching. Oh, is that Cece and Mike?
I'm just laughing because I'm sure there are times at the store they're like, I don't recognize that frightening lady. And I'm usually the one who rolls out, and there's no telling what people have seen.
Oh, I love it. Well, what would be kind of your single piece of advice for someone that is like, okay, I want to go do my thing. I want to go out on my own. Maybe they've had a corporate job, or there's a lot of stay-at-home moms that are like, you know what, kids are getting older. I feel like I need to do something. What's your advice to them?
I'm huge on that, and actually right now going into 2022, it's like a huge goal of mine to start writing and maybe do a book or something. And my advice is to just start. Take the first step. I cannot imagine, because you sat there with me, and Deidre, you were such a cheerleader. I think even when I wasn't sure if Michael was if he was oh gosh, it's another one of her crazy ideas. And you were such a cheerleader for me, and I want to be a cheerleader for other people, because look at how my whole life has changed, and parts of it have been uncomfortable and hard, but it's truly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm happier than ever that I am doing what I truly am created to do. I am a businesswoman. I am a creator, but I wasn't doing those things. And so I think there's so many women, whether you're my daughter who's 13 years old and wants to start a jewelry business, or you're 70 years old and you want to take an art class. You just don't know where it's going to lead. If you're going to have that prompting, just start. Take the first step, pick up the phone and schedule that meeting, or sign up for the class, or, whatever it is that is the first step, take it.
I love that.
Because you don't know where it's going to lead. Because you'll take that step and then you'll figure out the next one and the next one. And so that's what, if my influence, or whatever you want to call it, if people can hear my story and know, I was a stay-at-home mom who was taking photos on the side, and you of all people know how crazy that step of calling you was my step. Of calling you and saying, I have this idea, and I think it might be kind of crazy, and speak it out loud. Tell someone. Tell someone what it is and take the first step.
Well, that's awesome. I always say to people, operating your genius. If you can find your genius, what is it that you do that you can do without really thinking? It just comes naturally. So yours is design, right? It just comes naturally. It's part of what you do, and you wake up every day loving it. You're not like, oh, I have to design this. It's exciting and it's fun. So if you can find that genius and be able to make money doing it, that your life is, it's set.
And some people don't know what it is. I didn't. The signs were all there, but I was a little lost. So that's why I'm saying, if you just start taking the steps. So for me, you could take it back further than that. I signed up for a photography class. When I was 29.
Exactly.
And then I called you when I was 35. And there are key moments in my life where I realized I picked, but the point is you acted. So there are so many people out there who I think are just missing out.
They're
missing out. Life could be more. And by more, I mean I'm working with my husband and I have time freedom and I'm flying to Rosemary and I'm doing things that make me so creatively fulfilled, and yes, I'm getting paid to do it. And
which is amazing.
It's incredible, but I just think you have to start even if you don't know where you're going. You can still take one step.
Because your print shop, that wasn't where you were going.
My print shop
was the first step.
I still have my shop, and I have great goals for that in the future. But right now, this has taken off so much that our focus is there, and then that's that's over here. It's operating, but we've got plans for it. You know, but it could not. That it couldn't have gone in a more opposite plan than what actually happened, or what I had planned.
Didn't roll out that way, but it all landed the way it's supposed to.
Exactly, because I took the first step. So
okay, I love that. So what's next? Cece and Mike, what do you think is on the horizon?
Exciting. So I referenced we have a very. We already are almost booked for 2022, and finishing projects that have been on our schedule. A very exciting new construction out of state, actually, for an amazing couple, and He happens to be an NFL football player.
Well, Easton has to love that.
Yes, that's the aspect of it. But I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't think it's so cool that this, like you got to think it's cool all the time.
Yeah, I love it.
And so we're doing that. And then honestly, what we're talking about, and this is very, new and exciting, is doing like a stay with CC and Mike and starting to do Airbnbs.
Ooh.
And so buying things that are in distress that need our touch. And some of our favorite places.
I think a camera guy needs to follow you on that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Yeah, so kind of, turning around some Airbnbs and allowing our friends and followers to stay in those when we aren't there.
Okay, yay, that's so fun. Okay, so how does my audience get in touch with you, follow you, all that good stuff, and kind of like take advantage of your great creativity?
Well, it's Instagram is CC and Mike Creative. That's kind of the big one, our daily. Our blog is ccandmike.com. I do all of our reveals. I write a lot of personal things on there, share recipes. It will always be my little creative hub, so that's ccandmike.com, and then pretty much everything CC and Mike Creative or CC and Mike, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
Good, all of that. Okay, I love it. Well, it was so much fun having you.
And thank you for your encouragement and support. I truly wouldn't be here without you.
Yes. Oh, you guys have done amazing. I'm like, every time I see something, I'm like, oh yes. Like there's so many great accomplishments, and it's just fun to watch. So
well, thank you.